So the idea of death has always been a very appalling topic for me. And then the other end of the spectrum, because now I'm in the the whole supernatural industry, the spiritual industry, and I believe in ghosts, I believe in the afterlife, I believe in reincarnation. It doesn't look very pretty for most of us. How many of us can say we are saints, like we are going to ascend and live this samsara or go to nirvana or heaven or what have you? And then there's also the other thought where if you can't let go, like me, who just confess I cannot let go, would I then be a wandering spirit stuck to this earth, anchored to this plane for all eternity? So everything about death isn't pleasant, and today we're going to have this discussion, and I'm going to let you lead it because I have so much to talk about, I don't even know where to start. So please just ask me anything you want.
Okay. I think before we go into topic topper, just a disclaimer that all the opinions are of my own only. It has no affiliations with any organizations that I'm affiliated with. This is just purely my personal opinion. Second thing is any opinions stated here is not medical advice. It is just purely for discussion's sake. Yeah, if you have any problems that we may bring up during discussion, do seek a medical health professional. Yeah, and yep.
Okay, very good. The TLDR version, don't blame him, okay? It's just all his opinion, not professional science or endorsed. Okay, where do we begin about death?
Where do we begin with death? From what you mentioned just now, right, that death can be like scary because people fear the unknown. What's going to happen after death? Religious people may subscribe to beliefs from their religions, but as you mentioned, it may not look pretty. There is purgatory, there is where you'll be weighed for your sins, and then there's possibility you'll spend the rest of eternity being punished. And I think where fear comes from, secondary, is fear comes from even the media that we consume. We see that, death is painful. If your heart stops, the doctor will jump in and give you electric shocks, and then they're going to poke things into your nose, into your mouth, into your everywhere, and then that process is traumatizing even to look at. However, I think we have really stepped some distance away from how death used to be or should be, just like birth. Birth is a social event. If you look at the entire animal kingdom, no animals, when they give birth, like crying, screaming, kicking, and saying that, push, somebody holding the hand and shouting, push, yeah, hey, there's almost there. What actually happens is the animals, they will go quietly, go to a corner somewhere dark, and then before you know it, a litter of kittens or puppies are out. And when I understand hypnobirthing, I think that's how birth should be. It's a social event full of love, warmth, affection, calm, not with machines beeping, with like people shouting you, push, like the drama makes you, and then like, so painful. I need Entonox, which is the gas. I need Petidine injection. I need epidural, and then eventually go into cesarean because of there's so much fear behind. So to elaborate on that, what I would say is that birth is a rest and relax process like digestion. It's where the parasympathetic end of things, rest, relax, digest. And when you are in fear, you are in sympathetic mode, so you fight, freeze, and fight. And these two are in disparity against each other. I want to relax so that I can give birth gently, so that my cervix, my uterine canal can relax, so the baby comes out easily. But because of the unfamiliar environment, beeping sounds, people shouting, you hear next door, there's a lot of fear. When fear comes, like your body goes into fight or flight, all things that should relax, the muscles that should relax, becomes tense. That's where the pain and discomfort comes from. In a very relaxed birth, they actually feel tightness and stretching, but it's not actually pain. It's the fear that makes things more difficult. Yeah, I probably went too much into hypnobirthing. Yeah, let's go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
But some of the things that your fans love about watching your video is the fact that you really go science into it. There may be not many words that we understand, but definitely sounds really legit. Okay, so hypnobirthing, that's what it is. So to summarize what I understand about what you just said, is the modern way of giving birth seems to be counterintuitive to what nature has prepared for us. Where you're supposed to just like if you look at the animal kingdom, you just go to one quiet corner, relax, and then, you know, let nature take its own course. Except that right now we have the teet, 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 with the doctors in the mask, and like, injection, this, right?
Yes.
So, but what has birth got to do with that? I mean, in the cycle of it, I understand. How does it connect it for you?
I see. Birth should be a social event 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Death should be that as well. Yeah. When you are in the hospital, when there is no pre-phase like advanced care planning or something, then doctors it's their duty to help you prolong your life, and that's where the interventions come in. We'll probably talk about advanced care planning subsequently.
Okay.
If this happens at home, what happens is you call a family doctor to come to visit, and if the doctor thinks that there's no foul play, then he'll sign a certificate of cause of death that enables a family member to get a burial certificate. Yeah. If the doctor comes and suspects like it's unnatural, then they'll get the police involved. So typically at home, if that happens at home, it should be a family affair. There is not a lot of intervention, a lot of equipment involved, and that is how I would say a peaceful death at home. That can be what it is, and it's not so dramatized in films. People death throws in the bed, death gurgles, or a lot of like different connotations that makes it, even thinking about it causes fear and uncertainty in people. Yeah.
So there's none of the struggles. No. So I understand birth. Most births would be quite in the same vein, because you would know when you're going to pop. Your water bag will burst. There will be signs, but not death. Unless you're terminal, you're given a finite amount of time. Most death just hits you. Even old age, fit people getting a heart attack, old people getting a heart attack when there's no prior signs, or fall down the stairs. So death, you can't prepare for death like you could in birth. It'd be nice to have everyone around you and like have that Kumbaya moment as you fade away.
Yes.
But not many people have that kind of luxury.
Yeah. Maybe I can share here is like my dad, his own passing, he was admitted to the hospital. He had breathing difficulties. He was on high flow oxygen. He had atrial fibrillation, which is the arrhythmia. The heart beat is unstable. And knowing his prior conditions, he had lung conditions, he had heart conditions, doctors say that there's probably only this much we can do. Would you want to take care of him at home instead? So we brought him home. And this is where the Kumbaya moment comes, where we inform all the friends and family. And then what we Chinese believe is that usually the elderly people, right, they'll wait until everyone is here, then only they take their final breath. And indeed, that is what happened. So my second brother flew in from Australia. Then when everyone is ready, maybe about half a day later, he breathed his last.
From my understanding, patients who are about to take their last breath, they're about to die. Somehow miraculously, 24 hours prior, they seem to be very healthy, high spirits, and then they suddenly go. Is that just a superstition, or is that something that you see in the professional field happen more time than it should?
Okay, in Chinese we call this 回光返照, when they are very, very lucid. Initially I thought it's like probably something that we think is just our beliefs, but when I wrote my latest newsletter on death, when I looked through the literature, it's actually this lucidity moment is documented in doctors who are in ICU. They study what happens to the brain during the process of death. They were studying near-death experiences and things like that, and they noticed that this moment of lucidity is actually, I wouldn't say very, very common, but it's, I would say maybe, plucking the number out of the air is about 25%. So it's not that uncommon.
Okay, so there is a science backed to that.
Yes.
But did they figure out why it happened?
Yeah. Why did it happen?
Because that doesn't sound like part of the sick person's journey. Like you don't suddenly just have a reversal. So why is that?
I don't have a straight answer, but one part may be related is that when they place EEGs, which is the electroencephalogram, checking your brain waves, they find that probably in like advanced meditators, they have a gamma brainwave, which is a very, very unique brainwave. Like you and me talking now, currently we're in beta. When we transition in between sleep, when you're meditating, we're at alpha. we want to go to delta, even gamma. Gamma is reached by very advanced meditators. And then when they place ECGs on people who are near death, right, initially the brainwaves may be very jumbled from all their conditions that may have, but at the moment leading towards death, the few minutes or hours, the EEG pattern, some of them will demonstrate gamma activity, and it is linked to transcendental moments. Yeah, and I think there is some correlation between the lucidity and this phenomenon. Although I'm still in the process of researching, so I haven't got a full answer yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, so speaking of death and speaking of different brain waves, there are a group of people who can meditate themselves into ascension. What do you call it? Samadhi? I think that's the word.
Samadhi.
Samadhi, right?
Yes.
And is that a form of suicide? Because suicide would be taking your own life. Samadhi is the act of understanding that you could ascend past the human body into a higher realm, leaving this shell and vessel behind.
Ooh, okay.
So I've been in India where there is a Samadhi ashram. People from anywhere in the world who travel down and make preparations for their burial. They will go into we say it's ashram, but it's actually more like a small hut with an open space with a lot of trees. You pick a tree you want, you go underneath and you just meditate. You never wake up from meditation.
Oh.
And these are people, I'm not even talking about them taking in drugs or taking their life in any unnatural way. It's purely meditation, ascent. Have you heard of that before? And what's your take on that?
My take on that is that what I understand in Samadhi is that it's a state, like Bhanga is a state of Vipassana meditation where you feel, you lose yourself and you are, you meld into your surroundings. Samadhi is also a state of mind where you reach it and you can come back. But I didn't know that it's a form of where they choose their end. I didn't know about that. Yeah.
Even some very senior monks, they would be in a meditative state at the end of days. And then you can foretell things like, there'll be some signs where you can bury my body. So that crosses from death into the different realm, and we are now looking at death by choice or death by supernatural means. Does that make you uncomfortable, or how does a doctor look at the topic of death beyond the idea of what we just talked about with regards to dying in hospital or dying in the bed?
With this, let me broaden the thing slightly. So I think in Netherlands is the place where, is it the only place in the world? Let's check on that, where you can actually choose your death. In this instance, from what you mentioned, is that whether it's like pro-choice or pro-birth, like the choice of whether to give birth and abortion,
euthanasia also, right?
Euthanasia, when you talk about that, but then talking about birth is like, do we support abortion, which is also a very, very big topic also. So can we apply that thinking frame to this one? If I can choose whether or not to give a baby, can I choose my death? This is a very controversial topic. Actually quite hard for me to tread. I would say that if the person has premonitions of what is going to come, and he can make preparations for it, he can inform his family members, he can settle his worldly affairs, I would say that is actually a good way to go, rather than leaving things unsettled, whether it's family, finances, debts, people being left untold about things. That may be a better way.
Hey, for sure. Now that you mentioned about that, I have people I know whose loved one passed away, and they are unable to carry on with life. They are grieving, but it is not just the loss of a loved one that caused them the greatest problem. It's the social part, things like the bank, the house, the licensing. A lot of things require administration. And then she went to the bank, like, that's my husband. And thinks, we need signature. He's dead. So sometimes they can be very insensitive with their responses. So if you ask me, do I want to be able to prepare to go? I think that'd be ideal. But many of us take life for granted. Like, technically, all of us could go tomorrow. Like, not to be foul mouth, but touch wood. We have our podcast here this morning. Anything could happen to either one of us in the afternoon.
True.
How prepared are we in that instance? I will tell you, I'm ill prepared. like my passwords, my Bitcoin wallet and everything, has not been properly passed on, or there is no system for the loved one to take over anything. Yeah, and I think most of us take that for granted.
Indeed. My wife has been on and off. She'll bring it up, that you must nominate your insurance, you must nominate your CPF, get your affairs in order, because let's not take for granted that we'll be here tomorrow. Yeah. And like you said, it's best to be prepared.
Are you prepared?
On a individual personal level, I would say that if I were to leave suddenly in the next 24 hours, I would say I live my life without regrets.
Wow!
That is one thing that I can guarantee say. Wow. Yes. But my wife would say that, no, you leave so much mess behind. That's a separate side of things. But on a personal, individual level, I felt that through the pain I went through, I found my meaning, my purpose, and currently I'm living it. And so that even if I were to die in the next 24 hours, I have no regrets.
That is an enormous achievement as a human being, to be able to say I live without regrets. How old are you?
36.
36! 36 years old, living without regrets. I'm not ready. I would struggle to leave. I have a lot of unfinished business, I feel. Tough, man. We're talking about topic of death makes me think about death, and when I start thinking about death, it gets me very squirmish about it. Go ahead.
I'll try to throw the ball into your court there. You've been in this supernatural arena for quite a while now. How has it shaped your view of death?
Oh my god, that's a good question.
That's going to be a deep rabbit hole, and I can't wait.
How did it shape my view of death? It got me thinking, on the positive side, it got me being very compassionate. That's the biggest difference that I feel within me. While I used to do things because I feel like it, and most times it's on the spur of the moment, or like someone messes up your day, you react with anger, right? You will snap at that person. And it's pretty much natural for us. We walk into the crowded MRT, someone step on our feet, and we go, hey, there's that outburst. I'm pretty much just like that before. And I always believe in shooting off my mouth, being my authentic self. Being authentic means being free with your opinions, But now, knowing that, believing, my own personal belief that there is a life after death that may be a lot longer in timeline than this human shell of ours. 70 years as a living person, but there may be 300 years as a soul before your purgatory, before everything else, and then the reincarnation, and there could be many lifetimes. So my exact point of survival in this timeline is a blip. And this blip, every little blip along this timeline makes a big difference to where I will be. Right? That makes me look at life in a very different way. I became a lot more patient. I became a lot more compassionate. I take things a lot less harsh. And I think the biggest change is from within, how I treat myself, and then from within it moves outwards. So I'm more kind to myself. I allow myself a lot of forgiveness. I find myself to be able to shrug a lot of things off. And because I was able to do that from within, I can now, if I meet someone in the train who step my feet, shrug. It's no big deal compared to the greater scheme of life, of things. And once I had that understanding, then the next part of the awareness comes in, that I have to pay for a lot of what I do now in future, karma or sins of the father, depending on which religious background you're from. Then you start to live your life differently today because you're putting in savings for tomorrow. You're not trying to get your paycheck today, living off the paycheck this month. You're like, I need to put aside some money for future events. And the what ifs and insurance. So I would like to think that in however remaining years I've left, this very short timeline I have, I would make a big difference in my afterlife. So being in the supernatural world makes me believe in afterlife, and then it changes my behavior in this life right now.
I see. I concur with that in the sense that because of the personal pain that I've went through, and then I also used to have emotion blocks. I don't know what is happening inside, and I'll just flare up out of sudden. It took me like 1 year plus to really step back from reacting and going to response. And the stance that I hold now is that if we imagine anyone on the street, anyone you meet on the street, everyone carries a backpack. The backpack is carried with their regrets, what they went through yesterday, what happened this morning, whether they had a quarrel with the husband, with their children, there was a unhappy parting when they leave the house. We don't know what they are going through. And each one carries a backpack. We don't know how heavy it is or how light it is. And then can we just bear, and I carry a backpack of my own, and if I commit a faux pas along the way, would people spare me some empathy to say that he might have a bad morning, he got up of the wrong side of bed this morning, can you spare a little bit of empathy for me? And with that in mind, I start to see people on the street carrying a backpack, and then whenever thing happens, I give them benefit of the doubt. I give them some leeway to breathe that, he had a bad day, let's give him some slack. And
I want to share a story with you. True story. This happened about, I think, the month of July, perhaps. Strangely enough, I was going for a basic meditation course in a temple in Tanah Merah. I usually on Friday Night Live, I would sleep late, and Saturday morning I have to go very early for meditation. Sometimes I'm not able to wake up in time to take a bus, so I'll take a Grab. It's quite near, it's probably under $10. So I called a Grab. The uncle got lost. And I saw on the map he was on the other side of the estate. So I said, don't worry, it's easier for me to walk over towards you than you to drive over, meander over towards me. I walked over to where he was. He says, oh no, I've driven out already. I said, okay, my uncle, where are you? Because he's still lost. He said, I'm on the main road. I said, you wait on the main road, I'll walk towards the bus stop. I walked towards the bus stop. He said, oh, I found the entrance to the car park. I said, okay. But by then I'm really hot and sweaty and bothered. I'm 10 minutes late. So that happened a few more times when we played catching. I was on the phone and I raised my voice. I shouted. I said, uncle, stop driving. Stay where you are. You see Sheng Siong, you wait at Sheng Siong. I will come over towards you. Right? I turned off the phone. Back then it would have been the equivalent of slamming down the phone. But now you just buttonless phone. You just it's not as kick-ass. Right? So when I was walking towards him, I was fuming, man. I was sweating, and I told myself, I'm going to give this uncle a 1 star. And I'm going to, journey towards where I'm going to be. I'm going to be mean and harsh towards him. He deserves this. Then another part of my brain goes, hold on a freaking minute. You're going for meditation course in a temple, and you are having these thoughts and behavior like this. I felt like such a hypocrite. Felt ashamed of even having those thoughts. By the time I arrived at this Grab, and I was holding on to the car handle, I had a split-second decision making to go in and continue being an asshole because I'm angry and sweaty. I deserve this moment, or I could just not do that. In that split second, I pulled open the door. I decided I'm just gonna be nice. It takes less effort to be nice than to sit in the car fuming and try to pick a fight. Being nice takes less effort. So I sat inside, I closed the door gently. That took conscious effort, by the way. I closed the door gently, and I turned to the uncle and I said, Uncle, you're finally mad. And to be fair, that entire behavior of closing the door and having that demeanor of smile and mock joy is entirely fake, right? But they said fake it till you make it, right? So he turned to me and because I was smiling, I was not yelling at him. I think he felt even more apologetic. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Then I said, no, it's okay. No, I'm so sorry. Then immediately I cooled down. So I said, oh, don't worry, uncle, just drive there. Don't worry. 10 minutes late, no difference. They're going to be meditating for 1.5 hours anyway. Then he said, oh, I used to go there and meditate as well. So we had exchange.
Wow.
And then as we were going there, something just occurred to me. Like, I was telling myself, well, he could have had a bad day, what you just said. So I said, Uncle, how's your day? In the next 15 minutes, he started pouring out how bad this morning was.
Oh dear.
And he was close to tears. And I sat there, I was like, oh, I could have, in that split second, just screwed up this guy's life even more not knowing
Yes.
how much I would have caused damage to him, giving him 1 star in his business and everything else, just to placate my own personal joy of wanting to vent it out to someone. So these are little things that
Yes.
make a big difference.
Yes.
And the other thing I found out is, the minute I start being this compassionate and empathetic fella, I start losing people around me. Because I begin to see a difference in those that I want to hang out with and those that I don't want to hang out with.
I get you.
And especially in today's internet environment, you have a lot of people who are quick to complain, quick to whine, so negative, so toxic. And I choose not to partake in that discussion to either entertain or to solve it for someone else. Then I realize I'm saving so much more energy for myself because I am now not taking on people's burden. I'm not sure how this is related to death, but I guess, it was what we talked about and we just went off a tangent.
It's a lovely story. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, really. And yeah, my eyes are like, there's not to say tears are coming out, but then when there's this, every time I encounter something emotional like that, I start to feel my vision turns a bit hazy. Yes. And
the smoke.
And I would say that it's like as if what you've done there, right, you probably it's equivalent to you meditating 10 rounds to achieve that peace of mind that you gave yourself in that moment. And that is like so awesome. To be able to make that decision and it's difficult, to have those brimming emotions coming up. You want to feel justified for your anger, righteous anger, we call it, everything. And to be able to, take the other way and look at things and then make what you eventually did. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, I mean, the world needs more of this, but it's tough. I'm 44 now. Yeah. 44 years into my life, then I figured this part out. I don't even know how to impart that to someone else. But I think that's beautiful if more people could have that.
Yes, and you're living the talk, and then your people around you, your children will see what you do, and you will be the role model.
Oh.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes.
That's also a different kind of stress and burden.
Yeah. Just now you mentioned that people around you they struggled with the passing of loved one because of the bureaucracy behind it.
Yeah.
And I just want to bring up that when death happens, there is a model, just that maybe some of your audience may be going through this, just to let them know and what to anticipate.
Okay.
And when that happens, especially those that come unannounced and very sudden, people may go through different stages of their trying to understand, make sense of things. They may go through grief, sadness. They may go through bargaining, saying that why did God or the universe take that person away? It should have been me. I have done more things. Why did you choose him? It should have been me. They can go to anger. It's like, God, I can't believe I prayed to you so many years and you did this to me, or whatever. Or anger at God, anger at somebody else, anger at themselves. And then there are 5 stages. Offhand, I can't remember the other 2. But people may cycle through this stage. At one point, they may be very angry about things. At one point, they are feeling very sad. At one point, they are like bargaining. And then people cycle through. And if family members around that particular person who is being affected the most, hold some space for the person, that this is what the person is going through before eventually they reach acceptance. Yeah, the final eventual stage is acceptance.
Sounds like a Yoda thing. Ooh, anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. So where are we on death on this topic? We seem to have gone quite far off. And I think because of a topic like death is so wide, it can pretty much go anywhere, right?
Yes, indeed.
I think your next topic you're going to talk about afterlife?
In my newsletter, I will talk about near-death experiences.
Near-death experience?
Yes.
Have you seen any as a medical expertise?
Let me just flip back the past 11, 12 years. I did not have anyone come back and tell me their out-of-body experience. I know, but I did, in my travels, I did come across a nurse she was a family that I stayed with, a very, very kind family. They took me out of pity because I was like dead broke and then no place to stay, and then it's cold, so they took me in. I stayed with them eventually about 2 to 3 weeks. On one of the last day I stayed with them, we went for a picnic. In the car, she is a very reserved person, like likely an introvert. And during my stay in her, it was just a hi-bye affair. But that day, on the last day when I was supposed to leave, we were in the car journey back, and then she tapped me on the shoulder. Then she said that, yo puedes salir cuerpo, which means in Spanish is that I can exit my body. Then I'm like, I was stunned. Then I didn't look at her. I turned around for a good 1-2 minutes. Then I asked her that, why did you tell me that? Why did you tell me that? Then she said that, I don't know. I have a feeling you will understand. And that was one of the pivotal moments for me lah. Then it turns out that she's a nurse, and she does shifts lah. And during the shift is particularly very, very tired. Or after that, a few nights in a row. Then when there's nothing, she will lay on the desk, and then she will fall asleep. And within, not sure the timeline, then she will be at the ceiling looking at herself. And this happened a few rounds already. Then after the initial awkwardness of the thing, right, then I started asking her a lot of questions. Like, wow, I didn't know this is real, man. And this one comes from a medical health professional, so there's more weight to what she says. And I said that, then what do you do? What do you do, man, if you see yourself out of body? And she said that, I will just stay next to myself. And I said that, huh? when you can go out of body, you can go out, you can fly, you can go through walls.
Such a waste.
Why did you opt to stay next to your body? She said that, I'm scared. And I said that, okay, what is the longest time that you stayed next to your body without doing anything? And she told me, this is probably not during at work, probably some other time at home, whatever. She said that 6 hours. She looked at the clock outside the body, and she stayed next to her body, waiting to go back in for 6 hours.
This would be the kind of people who would have passed away and the soul would not move on, and they just anchored at a spot because they're just too afraid to go anywhere else. I know someone, a personal friend of mine, a mentor, is his Dr. Joseph Guan. He went for surgery, and I think he was on a hospital bed, and he was pronounced dead, clinically dead for 6 minutes. And in that time, he out of body. I asked him, what do you see? He says, nothing. There's no light at the end of the tunnel, nothing at all. He was just there in the surgery room, and he felt it was weird because to him he was awake. Right? He did not see the body below. He was awake. He could see the doctor, he could see the nurses, he could see everyone else. And then there was a booming loud voice that says, your time is not up yet. And the next thing you know, he was up. He was like teet teet on the bed. So he was saying that what was that split second where he could see everything. So I said, you check with the nurses, because he could hear as if it's there. He said, no lah, I didn't check. So that was the moment I said, it's such a waste.
Yes.
If you did, then you could really validate that you were awake, at least in your soul level during that time. Now we can't. Now it's just, it could be you hallucinating.
Yes.
But he said that he didn't think he was hallucinating because when he heard the booming voice of your time is not up yet, he understood that connection with that divine voice as something that is genuine to him. Some people take it away from him and says, you're just imagining things. So if you feel in your bones and your heart that that's real, would I like to hear that kind of voice where I'm halfway through death and then the voice comes like, you're not ready yet, go back. I think I would.
Yeah. To this, right, there is actually medical research into this sphere, and then they collated people who had a heart attack and then required resuscitation, and then many of them eventually passed on, but some of them, when they, I think the number was a few hundred, but in the end the survivors were about 36. And then among them, they collated the experiences, those who are lucid, able to tell the story, and then they categorize everything. I think there are like all the versions that we probably heard of when you die, and in the in-between, the limbo state, relatives, deceased relatives come to surround you, tunnel of life, my life flashing before my eyes. Apparently, these people have such experiences, and it was collated in a journal. In my next newsletter, I'll place a link to this research. And then even separate research for incidents like this happening to children, children who have not preconceived notions of what is going to happen to me after I die, they actually report similar things, and there was not pre-fed, this information, tunnel of light thing, they didn't have prior knowledge, but that is what they experience. So it is quite interesting what at death, what happens next. Is it the end? I believe it's not, but what is it about? And then this is where things become very fascinating.
Yeah. Well, do you have a belief on that? Personal opinion, okay, guys?
Personal opinion. Personal opinion. From what I experienced in my spiritual journeys, in my awakenings, I believe in reincarnation. And I believe every soul that comes to this plane has a purpose to fulfill. And if you find out that, you will live life with like motivation and passion and purpose, and the universe conjures things to push you in the direction you're supposed to go. Things become easy and it flows. But if you are pursuing something that your own internal goals, but it's not from the soul, but it's like mentally I want this amount of X money, and then you doggedly go and pursue that. You may face a lot of hardship and pain, and at the end of the time when you achieve that, you may not actually be happy. Sorry, back to that. I digress. I believe that every soul has a purpose, and then we learn the lessons we need to learn during this physical realm, and the lessons will come. It's whether we can see it or we can't see it. If we can't see it, it's going to be something recurring. It's going to be a pattern that you will face. Why do I meet such people in life? People who, whether it's like jilted me, the relationships didn't work out. The lessons you need to learn will occur as patterns. And until you can see that pattern and you can address it and learn what you need to learn from it, it may just occur and occur. And once you can see it, you can address it, that's when, things start to turn for the better for you.
Wow. I know I subscribe to that as well. But I think it's just this whole life is such an unfair system. You want us to learn something, it's good for the soul, but yet you erase our memory every time we are born again, and that's like playing against the house, and the house is stacked against you. I understand how that works. I just don't like how it works.
I totally understand your perspective. It's like somebody there is pulling strings and it's like having fun doing it. But the way I look at it is like gravity. Everyone is subject to gravity. Like karma, there's nobody enforcing karma. It's just the law of things. That's how I look at it. And then it takes this is so unfair out of it. It's just gravity.
You know your purpose, or have you figured out the lessons you have to learn?
I figured out I had to, like previously I mentioned, I had emotional blocks. Then I had like a lot of beliefs about myself. I also like recently broke through imposter syndrome and things like that. But relating to my purpose is to be the bridge between science and spirit.
Wow.
And that thought governs everything that I do, whether it's my entire ecosystem. The foundation is that. How do I bring the gift of spirituality, understanding spirituality and awareness to the masses through the things, my every action.
So this is episode 6 of Science versus Spirituality, and you have seen Dr. Kuan Yu's humble beginnings in this podcast. I look forward to seeing like 100 episodes. How much different you would have progressed then from this point. And I really am quite excited for your journey.
Thank you.
So for me, I feel that my purpose is to help people. Now, I don't say that with some degree of pride. I don't want to help people. I don't go into life thinking people need help. I don't go into life thinking I'm going to waste my time helping people. That's not my intent. Never be my agenda. But it just so happened that as I'm doing what I'm doing, the byproduct of the sharing of knowledge, the byproduct of my connection and network seems to help people organically. And I will get people who walk up to me on the street sometimes and go like, thank you so much for doing what you do. Not by intent, but if people are benefiting from it, then it's a win-win for me. And I think that's a big difference compared to you as generally people going out there wanting to do good and then trying their best to do good, but never quite hitting it. Because when we say do good, what is doing good? Making a donation is doing good. Being nice is doing good. Doing good is so wide encompassing. When we tell someone to do good, they always go back down to let's make donation, let's do charity. That is a part of it. But if it becomes a concerted effort, then I don't think that's something that you can maintain. You got to do what you do well already, and the goodness comes as a byproduct. You know, like I mean, you in the medical field, I'm sure you have saved lives. But to you, it's a job. It's just a Tuesday afternoon. But to the person who walks away, that is a big difference for his life, right? So, I think all of us have that purpose. I believe I see the whole world as we are all interconnected sentient beings, and as we move forward into the next few years, the connection, our psychic connection is just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yes.
You could either be connected and grow together as a race and humanity, or you could be siloed. And there is that pull now. If you look at society as a whole, with social media, with everyone wanting to be heard, everyone's an individual, an opinionated individual, everyone's correct, no one's wrong. We are more fragmented than ever. So we need to form back that bond again, I feel, and that is that war, that spiritual war that we're not seeing, the underlying war between the good and evil. Good and evil is no longer Satan versus God, you know. It's the individual versus humanity.
The collective.
The collective.
I do see Eugene as the bridge between this world and the
the other world.
The other world. While I think a lot of us, our role is to be bridges. Bridges between, you know, the whether it's science versus spirit, this world versus the netherworld, or between chasms in society. And when we able to form that bridge, right, the world becomes a better place.
I like it.
Yes. And I think when the person walks up to you and say thank you for doing what you do, I think you probably help people find closure, help people have peace of mind that, you know, that things will be taken care of at the other side. And I think that's very very noble too, because there are so many lingering questions, because death and the afterlife is such a it's a big enigma we don't know. And then you and the other people in the field who provide answers to that, it's like balm for the soul.
Well, we have come to the 1 hour mark, and I think we just scratched the surface of what death is. There's probably a lot more to talk about as we progress and discover new things. Is there any other thing you want to talk about death before we close this show?
I probably just bring up something practical, is that Advanced Care Planning is the document initiated by the Agency of Integrated Care, AIC. So Advanced Care Planning, it's a document, non-legally binding, but it helps family members, the patient and the healthcare personnel to be in sync in what the patient wants at the point where they lose capacity, right? Whether they would want aggressive medical intervention, whether they want a nasogastric tube inserted if they are unable to feed by themselves, whether they would prefer to be treated in hospital at the end of days, or whether they want to be brought home. Usually what happens if death occurs suddenly, right? And then the subject being a taboo among Chinese, nobody brings it up. None of the family members know what are the patient's wishes, and then they are caught in between the patient, deteriorating patient, and the medical personnel. Doctor will ask what would you like? How would you like us to proceed? And they will be at a loss. And advanced care planning allows, you know, it is a facilitated affair. You will be either with a medical professional or a medical social worker, and we'll sit down and we'll understand what is important to the patient, what are their values, and then how best the family as well as healthcare personnel can respect those values. And I think that eases the mind of everyone. The patient doesn't have to go through aggressive therapy if that is not what they want. The patient's family will have peace of mind knowing that they have done the best for the patient, and then the doctors also feel that they are able to respect the patient's wishes, and this is what we want.
Okay, so where can they find this? Will be on what, Spotify?
This will be on YouTube.
YouTube. So where can they go to find your articles and?
Oh, I see. I have a Substack newsletter at drdeepdiveintoDivinity.com. Yeah, it's quite long, so we'll leave it in the description. And my YouTube channel is called Holistic Human. Yeah.
Dr. Deep Dive into
Divinity. Yes.
Okay, that's quite a nice ringtone. So, well, you can find me on supernaturalconfessions.com. Oh, one more thing about death. I would like to thank the patrons of Supernatural Confessions who have voted on part of the Patreon money that I've gotten. I'm giving 25% to a cause. And the patrons have all voted, 57% in fact, for coffin for the destitutes. So to give them some form of dignity as they leave.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, very close to death. I think to the community who's listening to this, death is very close to everyone's heart.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, that's the end of this episode 6 podcast on death, science versus spirituality with Dr. Kuan Yu and myself, Eugene Tay. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
See you. Bye. If it's spirit versus science, it's probably 6. Probably, yeah.
So there's a statistic on Spotify that said most 75% of podcasters don't survive past 10 episodes. So you're halfway to 10. Once you break that 10, you're not part of the statistic anymore. And the next part is to hit the first 50 and the first 100.
Cool. In my channel, I have the spirit versus science, and I have the holistic human. So holistic human deals with entrepreneurship education, and recently health. I did one on burnout last Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think most Singaporeans need to hear that because there's so much talk on mental well-being.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Where do we start? This is Spirit versus Science by Dr. Kuan Yu, and I'm just a special guest and also a guest host for this show, using my place and my equipment as the set and backdrop. Which
Awesome
thank you very
set.
much for having me in mind for your show. we talked about various topics regarding spirit and science throughout over lunch, and I'm so happy to see that this is the 6th episode.
Yes.
So going strong.
Yes, it couldn't have been possible without your encouragement and your support.
Thank you. All the hard work and heavy lifting is by you. And also now that you are working for a company, I'm not sure if you can mention the name, but you're in charge of wellness.
Yes.
So tell us a bit more about that.
So wellness is, I would say that the view of wellness, there is a spectrum. From on the left hand, if we see it as a bell curve, on the left hand is where people have mental illness or physical illness. Some people do not fall into that. They are not on medication or anything, but they are languishing, meaning they probably have to drag themselves out of bed every day. They trudge through life, unhappy and unfulfilled. Beyond that, there is the moderately well, where they are actually managing and coping, going through life, not burdened by much, but then they are not actually thriving, they're not flourishing, they don't feel enlivened by what they do, they don't feel the value and impact what they do. It's just like, paycheck to paycheck, month end to month end, and then life just goes on like that.
That's actually most people.
And what I believe well-being is that everyone deserves to be thriving and flourishing at the extreme right-hand side. And that's what wellness to me means. Yes. Yeah.
So that's the ideal goal, flourishing, wellness, not living paycheck to paycheck, having a quality life. And quality life doesn't just mean being able to afford luxury, it's being able to have that freedom of mind, not being stressed out, burdened, and in that loop, endless loop where you feel like you're an hamster on a
hamster on a wheel. Exactly.
So that's all great, Kuan Yu, but how is that related to spiritual side?
I see.
Where does that connection happen for you?
Okay. So if we look at WHO, like World Health Organization's definition of well-being, well-being is not just the absence of illness, but it also incorporates mental, emotional, and social well-being. And how does it relate to spirit versus science? Well, I'm a spiritual person by necessity because of the things I went through, because of my quarter-life crisis that I experienced. And it plunged me into this journey, and then that's how I met you also. And to me, spirituality gives us a few very important components of well-being. It gives us peace of mind. It gives us a sense of purpose. it gives us a connection between knowing yourself, being connected to others around you, connected to the world, and even to the cosmos. And that's where intrinsic joy actually comes from. Your happiness is not secondary to whether it's a possession or a purchase or a holiday trip, but it's just like it comes from within. That's what spirituality can bring to someone. And to have that, right, you are not endlessly pursuing something because your joy and your happiness comes from within. Yeah.
Isn't that in conflict with a lot of your peers in the science faculty? Because what you just said, I totally subscribe to that. But I'm not in the medical field. I'm more in what people would call in the pseudo-science side of life. You know, the Palo Santoing, the smoking, the incense, the singing bowl. So when I talk about spirituality in my circle, it's readily welcome to people, to my demographic who understands that. But how do you reconcile that with people, your peers who are very much into science, facts, details, and then we start talking about the soul, something that's intangible, unquantifiable. Does that not put you into conflict with your peers?
Indeed, you are right. And to be honest, stepping out into what I'm doing now is really not easy. I always have that thought in my mind that will they think me bonkers or things like that. That's a usual theme that I have to contend with. So what I personally done along the journey is that not only am I a medical doctor, I have also training in internal medicine in the form of I'm a member of the Royal College of Physicians, United Kingdom, and I also have a diploma in advanced, I wouldn't say advanced, a diploma in family medicine in Singapore. So I have go rather in-depth or breadth in that direction. At the same time, I have training in acupuncture back in Malaysia, and I'm also a Vipassana meditator, and I practice soaring crane Qigong also.
Wow!
And I also train in hypnotherapy, and I was a hypnobirthing instructor previously. So it's not just on a whim that I state the things that I say, but it's actually through what I learned from both ends, the East, the West, and then the subconscious part of things. So yeah, and then my personal experiences, which I cannot deny, and it's because of all this, it shaped my worldview, and therefore it may not be true for some people, but it is true for me, and I stand by what I say, and then it is backed by experience, and then I try to ground everything I say in science and evidence-based medicine, and that hopefully that brings it more. Give it a more palpable feel, more tangible as far as I can. Yeah.
Dr. Kuan Yu, ladies and gentlemen, very impressive list of achievements and experience. If you want to find out more about the experience that he talked about with regards to his midlife crisis and seeing things that cannot be explained, go to Supernatural Confessions YouTube channel and look for his face on one of the videos. I think it's about experiences in... What's the title?
Lahadatu, I think.
Yeah, okay, we'll put the link in the video somewhere below and above. So, clearly you are not a noob when it comes to topics on both sides. And I think what you're trying to do is to find that nice middle ground to substantiate a lot of this unquantifiable experience with some form of proof.
Yes.
So that's where spirit versus science come in, that middle meeting ground.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Beautiful. So today we're going to be talking about death.
Yes. Yeah.
It is a very serious topic. Also, it's a topic that's very close to my heart. Not many people know about this. I want to share this with you. On my signature, if you have bought my book and I signed the book for you, you realize that my Tay, the surname, is an Ankh.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that's a circle on top. It's an Ankh. Because from a young age, I've been fascinated with immortality because I've been afraid of death. I'm afraid to die. I don't want to die. If I can live forever, I would choose that. Some people say, oh, immortality is a curse. No. I want to be able to live through the generations. I don't want to die. I don't want to know what's on the other side. May it be good or bad. The idea of heaven doesn't really entice me. The idea of hell, do I really fear it? As I should? No. I always joke that when I go into a church, I might burst into flames and I'll see my friends in hell because we have like a plot of land ready for us. It's all joke. But when it comes to dying, and I have seen people dying before, it's not pleasant. They struggle, or even when they pass in their sleep. Now I kind of wonder, because everybody would have a dream, have a purpose. Like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, I'm going to do this.
Yes.
And imagine you don't. Or, if you spend the whole day at work, you have grinded yourself the whole day, and now you just want to go home, kick off your shoes, and watch a show on streaming, and then something happens to you, and it ends your life. So the idea of death has always been... Is it still recording? Sorry. No, it's not. Yeah, sorry. So the idea of death has always been a very appalling topic for me. And then the other end of the spectrum, because now I'm in the the whole supernatural industry, the spiritual industry.